We come from many different paths to gather here, for wide is God's welcome, and you are welcome here. If you believe in God some of the time, or none of the time, or all of the time, you are welcome here. If you are happy or sad, rich or poor, powerful or weak, if you are young or just young at heart, you are welcome here. If you are married, single, partnered, divorced, or widowed, if you are gay or straight, or a little of each, if you are man or woman, or a little of each. If you don't see or hear or move so well, you are welcome here. Your presence here is a gift that challenges us to open our doors as wide as God's welcome. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here by the God who made you and loves you just the way you are, and loves you enough to challenge you to keep growing towards the person God made you to be.
Often when native peoples come of age, they go on a quest, a vision quest, taking with them oftentimes a pouch called a medicine pouch that holds tokens, talismans, that don't hold special power but point to the spirit that will sustain and propel and compel the journey. On our journey seeking hope, we've looked at a couple of topics so far. In the first week, we looked at wildness, understanding that God is at work in all things wild, and rather than find ourselves apart from creation, is more valuable to find ourselves a part of creation and feel the wildness of God working around and within us, providing us with hope. Last week, in a similar vein, we looked at our bodies, these marvelous creations with all of our senses, and realized that when Jesus told us that those who have eyes to see can see the reign of God, and those who have ears to hear can hear the reign of God, that he was talking about something beyond our senses, that God provides hope by being present in ways that we can perceive with our senses and beyond our senses. This week we turn our attention to the topic of fidelity. Finding hope in fidelity, which is more than loyalty, or even just the stubborn affection of staying with a partner for years. Fidelity is a steadfastness. It is a commitment to place, a commitment to others, an understanding of a calling to be the person God has called you to be and to fit in the place where you fit. As a bird watcher, I have learned to be a keen observer of habitat, those places where birds fit in very specifically. I love marshes. They're so rich and alive and mysterious. And I know that when I walk in them, there are certain species that can be expected. But over time, as I've become familiar with specific places like this one, Wake Robin, here in Mentor Marsh, I find that there are not just general but very specific locations where birds occur. This is the spot where if you are the first person on the boardwalk on a spring morning, you might be the one lucky enough to flush an American bittern. For some reason, they prefer this rather particular spot. And here, this clump of grasses and reeds growing seems to be a particularly wonderful place for soras to call home. Often one is seen scurrying right here. Least bitterns are elusive and secretive birds of the marsh, but those reeds right over there on the far side of this pond seem to be a particular spot beloved by least bitterns. It's a good place to look when searching. And this stretch of the boardwalk is a place where I've seen Virginia rails scurry across the boards themselves. A fertile place for them to nest, a regular Virginia rail nursery in this section of the marsh. And then there is this tree at the end of the marsh, where I've never seen the bird that I know has been there. When I was young, we used to play a board game called Careers. And one career was ornithologist, and one of the bonus cards was foreseeing a yellow-bellied sapsucker. And I used to think that that was a fictional bird because of its silly name, until I discovered it really is a bird. And yellow-bellied sapsuckers leave telltale signs. They drill holes in the tree so that the sap will run and they can feed off of it, or feed off of the insects that get caught in the sticky sap. It's an interesting survival skill, and it's a way that one can find them, because here in this tree are the holes of a yellow-bellied sapsucker. They also teach a lesson about finding your place, because I learned one day that yellow-bellied sapsuckers, in drilling these holes, have an added benefit and create an additional food source for another species, ruby-throated hummingbirds, which will sometimes come and drink the sap themselves. And in fact, the day I learned that, we were looking in trees hoping to find sapsuckers, and sure enough we found one, and as it flew away, didn't a hummingbird fly in behind it? So perhaps finding our place has to do with being true to that one calling that is ours, being faithful and steadfast, holding on to what we are to do, because sometimes we don't even realize the benefit that it provides for others. For 200 years, there has been a gathering in this space. Not this particular building, but this gathering of people, Old South United Church of Christ. It hasn't always even been called by that name. But through steadfastness, through fidelity, through a commitment to a place, there has been a congregation gathering here, even as we now have to gather through technology and gather in our separate locations. God would have us think about our fidelity to place as concentric circles. We are steadfast in our commitment and love for those closest to us. But we know that it doesn't end there. If we were a congregation concerned only with ourselves, we would be in a sanctuary with locked doors, not extending the extravagant welcome that God would have us do. But that's not who we are. And our welcome is extravagant, and our doors are wide open. For the concentric circles expand like ripples in a pond, and we move out from just ourselves to our neighbors. We move beyond building. We move beyond congregation into community. We move out from our community to all the world. For God's love and power is strong enough to reach the far corners, and we are compelled to go forth and spread that love, making disciples of all the world. If we were to lock ourselves in our building, surely the Spirit would come and blast open the doors. But that's getting ahead of ourselves to the story of Pentecost in a few weeks. For now, let us joyfully exit the building to be the church in all the world, because we are people of hope, filled with hope, empowered by hope, by our steadfast, loving God. The fidelity of our God compels us to be faithful people in all the world, bearing hope as we go.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' love and righteousness. I dare not trust this earthly frame, but only lean on Jesus' name. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand.
Let us with our joyful mind praise our God forever kind, rich with mercies that endure, ever faithful, ever sure. New made earth was filled with light, through God's all-commanding might, rich with mercies that endure, ever faithful, ever sure. Dazzling bright the sun obeys, God who shines with brighter rays, rich with mercies that endure, ever faithful, ever sure. Stars and moon that spangle night, all depend on heaven's light, rich with mercies that endure, ever faithful, ever sure.
Good morning and happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there, to the stepmothers, to the women who step up and have cared and loved for children throughout the years. I want to talk about a story. Have you ever read The Runaway Bunny? What I love about The Runaway Bunny is that no matter where this little bunny tries to go, and no matter where this bunny tells his mom where he's going, his mom says, well, I will be that. I will be there, for you are my little bunny. And so he decides not to run away after all, because he knows that no matter what, his mom's going to be with him. And I find that to be a lovely message. And so we have asked some of the kids and the youth and some of the adults to talk about what they love or about their mothers and how their mothers show them love. And for my mom, she has shown me love my whole life, just by never giving up on me, always having encouraging words and supporting me in any way she can. And I've also had the great joy and privilege of watching her show love towards other people. And the way that she shows love through her life and through what she does has influenced my life as well. And through her ministry with children and youth, and now her own congregation, she has never stopped showing that love for anyone around her, whoever needs it. And so for that, Mom, thank you. Mwah. Happy Mother's Day. And here are some from our youth.
One way my mom loves me is she supports me and she says how much she loves me, and no matter my personality, she will always love me. She says she'll always love me.
One of the ways that my mom shows me that she loves me is every Valentine's Day. The week leading up to Valentine's Day, she leaves these little heart notes on my mirror or just in my room somewhere that say like, I love you because ... and then she'll like list a reason. And that's always been one of my favorite ways that she shows us that she loves us.
So my mom is definitely one of the most selfless people I know, and she is so kind and shows so much love to every single person she comes across, and just doesn't judge anyone for anything. She'll just help them with whatever they need, and she just puts so many people in front of herself. And as I've gotten older, she's become one of my best friends, and I don't know what I would do without her. Love you, Mom.
Our mother shows that she loves us because she cooks dinner for us. She'll give us hugs when we need it. We love you, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you for being home with us during this quarantine. And thank you for everything.
My mom shows that she loves me by cooking food for me, giving me hugs, and helping me with schoolwork. I love you, Mom.
The ways that my mom shows that she loves me is by always making time to talk with me and giving me good advice. And she makes me food, and she always makes sure to put in a little extra time and effort to make me feel loved.
Hi, Mom. On this Mother's Day, I wanted to tell you that you are strong. Even when you don't physically feel strong, you are still a strong woman. I see it in your character, in your smile, and in the way that you choose to take on life. Your strength is one of the many ways that you show your love. And I love you. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
I understand fidelity to mean commitment to anything, to anyone, to any place. And obviously one form that commitment, that faithfulness can take, one form it can take is loyalty to a partner. And that's a form of it that it might take. But in my understanding, commitment, the possibilities and meaning of commitment and value of commitment is much, much broader than the relationship between marital partners or simply sexual partners. I understand, for example, that the commitment of a person to a place, a person who cares about where he or she lives and works to improve the schools or helps to organize a community kitchen or works to make opportunities for children to get out into parks, who really is working on behalf of the quality of life in their community and does that over decades, that's a kind of fidelity to place, commitment to place and to its well-being that I honor. Many other kinds of commitment or fidelity dramatically affect the quality of all of our lives. For example, a person who pursues a cause, somebody who may move around geographically, but continues to work on behalf of a certain cause. Those kinds of commitments to a cause seem to me profoundly important. And many of the blessings that we inherit as members of a society come from the efforts of people who have that kind of commitment to a cause. Or it might be to a calling, which is a little different from a cause. One may feel, for example, many artists feel, they may not use the word calling, some will, but they may not use that term, or vocation, which has a religious overtone. They may not use that language, but what they feel is a sense of that they have a talent, that they have a specific gift that they feel they must express. It's what they're required to do. Even if they don't earn money doing it, even if the world never pays much attention to them, but they pursue that art or that practice because they feel it's what they were born to do. And that's another kind of fidelity.
O give thanks to the Lord, for God is good.
God's steadfast love endures forever.
O give thanks to the God of gods.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
O give thanks to the Lord of lords.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who alone does great wonders.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who by understanding made the heavens.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who spread out the earth on the waters.
Steadfast love lives forever.
Who made the great lights.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
The sun to rule over the day.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
The moon and stars to rule over the night.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who struck Egypt through their firstborn.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
And brought Israel out from among them.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
With a strong hand and an outstretched arm.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who divided the Red Sea in two.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
And made Israel pass through the midst of it.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
But overthrew Pharaoh and his army in the Red Sea.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who led the people through the wilderness.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
It is God who remembered us in our low estate.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
And rescued us from our foes.
For God's steadfast love endures forever.
Who gives food to all flesh.
God's steadfast love endures forever.
O give thanks to the God of heaven.
May God's steadfast love secure you forever.
When you pray to someone who can solve all problems that you might face. You pray to someone that hears you. You pray to someone that listens to you. You pray to someone that is knowledgeable about not what you say, but even what you intend. Not what you utter with your words, but even what is in your heart. So you pray to someone like this, and therefore it gives you a remarkable strength. So in Islam, I think once a person was asking God for patience, and the Prophet of Islam said, ask God for goodness. You ask God for patience because that means there is a calamity, you like to be patient against it. But instead of that, say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us goodness in this world, make this world good, always good, and make our afterlife always good, and protect us from the fire of hell. I remember a gentleman when I was in Atlanta, a gentleman, a Turkish Muslim man, he had a disease, a sickness, that he lost his taste. The taste on his tongue was lost. So he told me, eating baklava and eating meat are the same for me. I don't see the difference. I don't have any sense of taste. And he said to his doctor, he told me the story. He said, I told to my doctor, no, actually, I'm not saying why me. I am saying why not me. And he said, wow, how? And he said, doctor, I am 55 years old. And God has given me this taste for 55 years. Now for a few years, he is just taking back. I have to be thankful for what he has given me. For 55 years, I am tasting all these foods. So for a few years, he's taking, it's not too big, it's not too much. So I shouldn't complain about it. So in Islam, there is no hopelessness. And in Islam, whatever God does is beautiful. Whatever good things come to us, it is from God. Whatever evil things come to us, it is from our own misachievements, misconducts.
Yeah, it reminds me of the first week in this series, we looked at a passage from Paul's letter to the church in Rome, where he talks about God working all things for good. He doesn't say God only does good things, or he doesn't say that only what happens to you is good, that everything's good somehow, but that even those bad things that happen to you, God is capable and powerful enough to take all of that, to take those lemons and turn it into lemonade. That if you're called according to God's purpose, you have hope because God is doing that work with you, is going to work that out in your life.
And also there is a principle in Islam, which is about this life is a test. Life is a place of testing, examination. It is a test. It is not the place of rewards, the place of service. The reward will come after, in the afterlife.
So our daily prayers and pilgrimage and Ramadan that you're experiencing right now, are these things seen as tests, or is there a different way of looking at that? And is the hope for some future reward, or it sounds like there's no hopelessness, so there's hope even before that reward that is to come?
Yes, the reward for these things, basically you do it for the sake of God. Yes, it is difficult because praying 5 times a day requires a remarkable discipline. These days is becoming, days are becoming longer and nights becoming shorter. You wake up at 3:30 a.m. and to perform your morning prayer every day, not like once a week, every day. It requires perseverance, It requires really a huge discipline. And therefore, it is, you do it for the sake of God. Some Muslim mystics would say, yes, paradise, God will give you paradise as a reward, but essentially, you shouldn't even make paradise as the goal of your prayer. The goal of your prayer is only pleasing of God. He has created you, and he wants you to do something, and this is what he wants you to do, to become closer to God. So through prayer, the Prophet of Islam says, when you pray, the closest position that you are with God is prostration. So make a lot of prayer in prostration. So ask more in your prostration because you are closer to God. So the purpose of it is to elevate spiritually and becomes more angelic, less physical. Are all Muslims aware of this? I would say no, because unfortunately, sometimes it becomes ritualistic. It loses its essence. It loses its essence because of ritualistic. It shouldn't be that way. You should feel it. When you pray, you should feel it. Like, for example, fasting, yes, has a very spiritual dimension because you make your stomach empty so that your spirit uh, will find a way to grow. And therefore, in the month of Ramadan, you have to make your stomach empty. You have to face hunger. And then one Islamic scholar says, while stomach is crying, other spiritual senses are laughing of joy. You see, because they feel now the field is ready for them to grow. But also has something to do with social life because human beings are social by nature. So for example, now you feel much more pain of those who are marginalized, pain of those who are hungry. You feel their pain because you are, excuse me, because you are experiencing it.
I'm hearing a thread about this connection and relationship in all of these things, because you're saying that in your prayers you're getting closer to God, and in your giving you're getting closer to others, right? And there's a through piece there, isn't there? That God's fidelity, God's steadfast love towards you is toward all people. In Christian scripture, we have a verse that says God makes the sun to rise on the good and the bad, and the rain falls on the just and the unjust. You know, that God cares for all, and so that when we make those connections, we are doing what God would do. So the steadfastness, the fidelity of God is not just a stubborn affection. It's not just loyalty. It's a deep abiding love that is fidelity, and that we're to model that. And that we want to be in that kind of relationship with God, and part of the way we do that is be in relationship with other people. It sounds like your faith and my faith are saying very similar things.
Actually, the same tradition that's found in the Bible. You know, when God says, "I was sick and you didn't visit me. I was hungry, you didn't feed me." It's same. There is a hadith of the Prophet of Islam in a similar sense. Well, so because these are the servants of God, the servants of God, if you love God, you have to help the servants of God too.
So it's Ramadan Mubarak? Is that, how do I say that?
Yeah, Ramadan Mubarak means your Ramadan, let your Ramadan be blessed. It's a very beautiful word, Ramadan Mubarak. Yeah.
Ramadan Mubarak, my friend. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much. It's wonderful.
It would be a mistake to believe that Christians invented a loving God. Just in case you missed the 24 references to God's steadfast love in that psalm, let's take a look at what that word is. The Hebrew word is chesed, and the translation is sometimes mercy or loving kindness. But truly a better way of understanding it is this translation we heard today, steadfast love. It is God continuously showing mercy despite what the object of the mercy does in response. God shows us steadfast love. And it's such a prevalent theme that it occurs 248 times from Genesis to Zechariah. My conversation with Dr. Zeki helped to make clear that the Prophet of Islam also understood the teachings of Jesus. Recall that Dr. Zeki lifted up a hadith teaching of the Prophet of Islam that when you do not help one of the servants of God, you are not helping God. Those are the words of Jesus. Those are our teachings, our rules. In fact, Jesus summed up the law for us and made it very simple. The law is as simple as love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Okay, so we love God. Well, how do we do that? By obeying the second law, which is to love our neighbor as ourselves. To understand the fidelity of God, God's steadfast love for us, we need to express it to others and to ourselves. We have to understand that God's fidelity is shown in each and every one of us, in the gifts that you have, perhaps in the place where you are, perhaps in the cause that stirs your heart, perhaps most especially in the talents that God has created you with. Those things that make your heart sing, that make you feel most fully alive, that is the gift of God, not just to you, but to your neighbor and to the world. In this time of pandemic, when we are feeling isolated, we have an opportunity to see our place and understand that our place in this world is not just our physical location, but all those places we can reach, all those people whom we might influence, our neighbors, our challenge to love, those folks who are Jesus to us. And we have the opportunity to find those things that break our hearts, those things that make us want to reach out and respond and make a difference, knowing that we can't change everything, but we can be committed to one cause, to the cause that is most especially the one speaking to us. And each of us is given gifts. Each of us knows, when we reflect, what it is that we can do that no one else does quite the same way. That's what you offer. That, my friends, is being faithful to God. The laws can feel like a burden. Rituals can overtake us and we can feel trapped, like I'm sure many of us feel trapped right now in this lockdown, staying at home. Or we can see the law of love. We can see the power of love. We can see God's faithfulness, God's fidelity to us, and make ourselves closer to God by practicing those things which make us feel most fully alive. That is our fidelity to place, to cause, to our gifts. What is it that you are called to this day to be committed, to be faithful? And where are those people, those places, those things that need God's love, that God is yearning to love through you? That is how we find hope. Because God has steadfast love that endures forever. It will not go away. And when we believe that, and when we apply ourselves to regular spiritual discipline of getting closer to God in our prayers and our practices, then we begin to reflect that same steadfast love. And if love is truly that solid and strong and never-ending, then surely there is hope. Amen.
I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at God's command, and all the stars obey. I sing the goodness of our God that filled the earth with food. God formed the creatures with a word and then pronounced them good. Oh, how how your wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread, or gaze upon the sky.
If you value and appreciate the ministry and work of Old South Church, there are a number of ways that you can participate and help. First of all, tell others. The easiest evangelism you'll ever do is sharing this video. Secondly, you can support our efforts by liking the video, simple as that, or liking our Facebook page, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. All of those links you will find on our webpage, right on the front page at www.oldsouthchurch.org. And if you aren't already receiving our weekly emails on a variety of subjects, you can go to the website and sign up there. You can go to the Contact Us portion and fill out the information and sign up for a variety of weekly and monthly emails. And of course, financial contributions are not only always welcome, but clearly are necessary. If you are already part of the congregation and you are keeping your pledge current, thank you. If you want to make a donation to the church, you might mail a check to the church and we receive it that way, or use our donations page on our website and using your debit or credit card make a donation, which you may designate if you choose, particularly if we are having a special offering that you want to participate in or to assist our food pantry. Another way to support one another, particularly during these difficult times, is with our prayers. For the duration of this time of staying at home, we are maintaining a stained glass prayer wall. If you have a person or a particular need that you would like to have added to the wall, contact me directly, and I'll write it on a slip of paper and add it. Next, we will be moving to a time of public prayer and communion. So if you are watching live and have not yet gathered elements for communion, now is the time to do that. Also, please type your joys and concerns in the chat. You're also welcome to share your prayer requests via email, text, or private message at any time if you would like us to pray for those requests come next Sunday. Now, let us prepare with these announcements and this music.